381 Su Chang. Yi Zan suddenly thought of something. With a wave of his sleeve, a bright streak of light suddenly flashed, and a storage ring appeared in his hand shortly after. This is a storage ring. It contains a dimensional space and can be used to store items. As cultivators, we naturally have many spiritual pills and treasures with us when we travel in the mystic world. It would be inconvenient to carry them around with us. As such, most cultivators carry a storage ring with them. This is the first time my precious disciple is going out for training, so I'll give you this storage ring. After that, Yi Zan taught her how to use the storage ring. Many thanks, teacher, Zhu Guoyu said happily. She was always happy to receive a gift from him. At this moment, a system notification suddenly rang out in Yi Zan's mind. Ding! As the host has given his disciple a yellow rank storage ring, the host has received a randomized 100x critical reward. Congratulations! The host has obtained a black rank storage ring. Yi Zan's eyes lit up. A brand new storage ring suddenly appeared in the system's storage space. Yi Zan checked it slightly and found that not only was the dimensional space of this storage ring wider, but it also had a function that surprised Yi Zan. This storage ring could store living things. It's really a product of the system. A high-quality product. The corners of Yi Zan's mouth curled up. Teacher, when are we leaving? What's the matter? Zhu Guoyu asked Yi Zan after she refined the storage ring with her blood and put it on happily. Yi Zan did not answer. Instead, he looked in the direction of the other peaks. At this moment, countless streaks of light suddenly emerged from the various peaks, each representing the figure of a cultivator. Seeing this, Yi Zan smiled. All right, we should also set off too. With the invitation of the Yangli divine dynasty, the chiefs sent almost all of their disciples, and even led the group themselves. Cloud Sky Peak turned out in full force. Well, there were only 2 of them anyway. Moreover, all of the Holy Lands in the East Continent were dispatching cultivators. It seemed almost like a giant clash between cultivators and beasts was about to take place. Yi Zan waved his sleeve, and a long sword appeared in the sky. Then, he said to Zhu Guoyu softly, Guoyu, let's go. He did not use the Cloud Heaven sword as it would be too eye-catching. After all, the current goal was to train Zhu Guoyu, not to show off. Zhu Guoyu nodded and summoned the Cloud Sky sword. She used the sword-controlling technique like Yi Zan and soon caught up with the rest. With the support of the profound ice divine bone, Zhu Guoyu's comprehension ability was pretty good, so it only took her a few days to grasp the basics. Unlike Yi Zan, who had spent decades mastering the sword-controlling technique before the system reawakened. Some time later, on the vast territory of the East Continent, 2 bright streaks of light flashed past, and then the figures of Yi Zan and Zhu Guoyu appeared. There were ruins and debris everywhere on the ground. The once prosperous town had long been razed to the ground. Smoke filled the area, and there were still drops of blood on the buildings that had been burned to the ground. As far as his eyes could see, there were piles of corpses everywhere, which attracted a murder of crows. Not far away, there were a few vultures, eating the corpses of humans and beasts. When Zhu Guoyu saw this, she felt nauseated and almost vomited. It seems that this berserk beast riot has indeed caused a great impact on the East Continent. This originally prosperous town has been left in ruins. Are the berserk beasts instigating this on their own, or is someone behind all of this? Yi Zan frowned as he thought to himself. This was the East Continent of the mystic world, and a territory of the human race. Under the rule of the Holy Lands and divine empires, it had always been peaceful and prosperous. Such attacks had never happened before, so something was indeed not right. Ta ta ta. At this moment, a series of footsteps could be heard from not far away. Zhu Guoyu looked toward the source of the sound and saw a powerful shockwave suddenly spread out, shattering a building. Then, the figures of a group of cultivators appeared. The one in the lead was a red-robed man in luxurious attire. His eyes were filled with arrogance. Tisk tisk tisk. Truly miserable. In such a prosperous town, all of the people died, hee hee. Nah nah nah. Presumably, this little beauty's affection was also like a flower or a jade. What a pity. Before you even had the chance to enjoy this young master's pampering, you've already died under the brutal paws of a vicious beast. The red-robed man walked up to a lady's corpse. He picked up a stick and touched the lady's clothes with a playful expression. His eyes were filled with schadenfreude. The man in red was Su Chang. He was a disciple of the Yangli Divine Empire, and a direct descendant of the Su family. Young master, although it's a pity that this little beauty is dead, isn't there another living little beauty over there? Just as Su Chang was feeling a little regretful, his lackey rolled his eyes and pointed at Zhu Guoyu, who was not far away. Su Chang looked up. Zhu Guoyu's graceful figure in white appeared in his line of sight, and his gaze froze. As a disciple of the Su family, he had seen countless beauties, but he had never seen anyone as cold and extraordinary as Zhu Guoyu. Tisk tisk tisk. This is really interesting. I didn't expect to meet a peerless beauty in this broken town. It seems like the heavens are watching over me. Su Chang licked his lips. His eyes were filled with excitement. He put his hands behind his back and walked toward Zhu Guoyu with a perverted expression on his face. Little fairy, I'm Su Chang, a direct descendant of the Su family of the Yangli Divine Empire. How should I address you? This young master has a few jugs of good wine, why don't you and I drink and have some fun? Hearing this, Zhu Guoyu frowned. Her eyes were filled with disgust as she spoke expressionlessly. Get lost. Zhu Guoyu had witnessed the latter's actions just now. At first, Zhu Guoyu had admired Su Changhei's handsome face. After all, he was a feast for the eyes. However, that handsome exterior concealed a demented pervert. Who knew that this guy would actually do such a thing? He dared to disrespect and sully a corpse. It was really disgusting beyond words. 382 The consequences of acting tough are very serious. Su Chang frowned when he heard the words, get lost. His expression immediately turned gloomy. He had toyed with so many women, and had never seen anyone who dared to be so impolite to him. Su Chang did not know why, but a strange feeling emerged in his heart. He seemed to enjoy being rejected. Only by subduing this kind of prey could he feel a great sense of accomplishment. You little BTCH, do you know the identity of the person in front of you? My young master is a disciple of the Yangli Divine Empire. Are you seeking death? Although Su Chang did not care about it, his lackey beside him did not want to let it go. He rolled up his sleeves fiercely and was about to slap Zhu Guoyu. Stop. When Su Chang saw this, he stopped the lackey. This beauty's appearance was so extraordinary. If he accidentally disfigured her, it would not be fun to conquer her later. This is the beauty that I have taken a fancy to. If you guys accidentally hurt her, who will take responsibility? Hee hee. It's all our fault. We almost ruined young master's big plan, the lackeys all quickly said with a smile. They were completely ignoring Yi Zan, who was not far away. From their perspective, no matter how Zhu Guoyu struggled, she would still end up in their young master's hands. Hearing this, Zhu Guoyu's heart burned with anger. However, when she recalled that Su Chang had mentioned that he was from a powerful clan in the Yangli Divine Empire, she hesitated. No, I can't bring trouble to my teacher's doorstep over such a small matter. At the thought of this, Zhu Guoyu could only suppress the anger in her heart. At that moment, Yi Zan looked at Su Chang indifferently and asked. You are from the Su family of the Yangli Divine Empire. Su Changhei's eyes darkened when he heard that. It was only then that he noticed that there was a man beside Zhu Guoyu. From his appearance, it seemed that even Zhu Guoyu had to listen to this guy. When he saw how obedient Zhu Guoyu was to Yi Zan, his gaze turned cold. This is the little beauty that yours truly has taken a fancy to. Is she someone you can lay your hands on? Also, aside from his relatively young appearance, Yi Zan looked pretty ordinary to Su Chang. As a descendant of the Su family of the Yangli Divine Empire, he had an impression of most of the geniuses of the empire and the various holy lands. Since he did not recognize Yi Zan, he probably was a nobody. He would probably run away in fear after being threatened, right? After all, the Su family was so powerful that not many could afford to offend them. Moreover, he had brought many powerful followers with him. At the thought of this, Su Changhei's expression became even more arrogant. Oh, could it be that you also know of the Su family's reputation? Yi Zan pretended to think about it seriously, and then said equally seriously, I'm sorry, I've never heard of them. Su Changhei's face turned livid when he heard that. Is this guy trying to anger me on purpose? Or is he truly disregarding the Su family? Truly impudent. Su Changhei's lackey was furious when he heard this. Powerful spiritual power fluctuations suddenly rippled out as he prepared to attack Yi Zan. However, Su Chang stopped him again and looked at Yi Zan deeply. He was thinking, even though he knows that I'm a disciple of the Yangli Divine Empire and descendant of the Su family, he still dared to provoke me. Does he have some sort of backing? Although he was a hedonistic son of a rich family who indulged in wine and women, it did not mean that he was a fool. In the Yangli Divine Empire, other than top holy lands and powerful clans, there were indeed quite a few powerful families and factions. However, Su Chang thought about it carefully and realized that he really had no impression of Yi Zan. May I know your identity? Which top faction or clan do you come from? Let's be friends. Hearing this, Yi Zan smiled faintly. I'm just a commoner, how can I be compared to young Master Su? Su Chang squinted his eyes when he heard this. He had already made a decision in his heart. Since you're just a commoner, do you know the consequences of acting tough in front of me? You guys, go and break this guy's legs. Just keep him alive. I'll teach him the consequences of provoking me. After Su Chang finished speaking, two materialization realm experts beside him suddenly erupted with power and rushed toward Yi Zan. Su Changhei's lips curled into a cold smile. These guards were personally selected by his father. They were extremely powerful and had accompanied him whenever he did his shady business. Materialization realm. Yi Zan's mouth twitched when he saw this. He had thought that such a pretentious idiot would have more powerful experts guarding him. It turned out to be mere materialization realm cultivators. What gave him the confidence to show off like this? Yi Zan did not move and just stood there with an indifferent expression. Zhu Guiyu was the same. She did not look flustered at all. Although she could not sense the exact cultivation level of the two guards, the strength of their auras was not as strong as her teachers. Thinking this, Zhu Guiyu laughed inwardly. This guy probably did not know that the person he had provoked was a powerful expert. Two bright streaks of light flashed past. A long sword appeared in each of the two materialization realm guards' hands. They released sharp sword chi that slashed toward Yi Zan. However, just as they were only 3 centimeters away from Yi Zan, they suddenly stopped. What are you good for nothing's doing? Hurry up and cripple him. Su Chang realized that his guards had stopped moving and immediately shouted in anger. At that moment, a destructive wave of energy suddenly swept out. In an instant, the two materialization realm guards were sent flying. Moments later, a sword chi that caused the world to lose its color suddenly flickered past, and Su Changhei's two guards were instantly pierced thousands of times. They were as dead as could be. The surroundings turned dead silent. Su Changhei's eyes widened in disbelief. A heaven realm expert. At that moment, an old man behind Su Chang cried out in horror. The moment Yi Zan made his move, he had already sensed the terrifying power rippling from the other party's body. 383 Teacher, you're so mean. Elder Lin, are you sure? Is this guy really a heaven realm expert? Su Changhei's eyes widened in shock when he heard that. Even though the Su family was a powerful family in the Yangli Divine Empire, there were only 2 heaven realm experts in the entire family. This guy was so young, and had said that he was just a commoner. How could he turn out to be a heaven realm expert? Young master, we're done for. We're in trouble, Elder Lin said with a pale face. Although he was a void realm expert and had a high status in the Su family, he was nothing in front of a heaven realm expert. Even the Su family would have to be respectful to a heaven realm expert. However, what puzzled him was why such an expert was present here. Furthermore, based on the power of the destructive sword chi that the other party had just displayed, even the family head might not be able to go toe-to-toe with this expert. This guy's strength was too terrifying. Su Changhei's face turned as pale as snow. Even though he had asked about the other party's background just now, he did not expect that he had still misjudged the situation and caused a great disaster. Young Master Su, what did you just say just now? Why don't you say it again? Yi Zan had an expression of mock confusion as he teased Su Chang. Su Changhei's body trembled uncontrollably when he heard this. He cursed Yi Zan's 18 generations of ancestors in his heart. He was obviously a heaven realm expert, yet he still pretended to be a weak commoner. Was this sort of twisted roleplay common nowadays? Su Chang felt immense regret. Before he left the Su family's residence, his father had told him that the beast attacks had spread throughout the entire East continent, and that the Yangli Divine Empire had invited all of the Holy Lands to resolve this issue. He had specifically asked Su Chang to restrain himself and not offend those experts. The Su family might be a powerful family within the Yangli Divine Empire, but to those powerful Holy Lands, they were just a rather strong ant. At first, Su Chang did not think much of it and thought that his father was making a big fuss over nothing. It was not until he met Yi Zan that he truly realized that his father's words were true. The people from the Holy Lands were truly terrifying. When he saw Yi Zan's mocking smile, his heart was filled with despair. It seemed that he had played himself. Su Chang almost felt like slapping himself at this moment. Why was he so blind? How could such an extraordinary beauty be ordinary? Then, Su Chang took a deep breath and knelt in front of Yi Zan. Senior, I was blind and offended you just now. I hope that you can forgive me on account of the Su family, as well as my 80-year-old mother and my unborn child. PFF'd. Zhu Guoyu could not help but laugh at this sudden turn of events. Her teacher was an excellent actor, and the result was so satisfying. She felt completely safe and carefree by his side. Yi Zan's mouth twitched as he looked at Su Cheng kneeling on the ground. His eyes were filled with disappointment. Yi Zan thought that as a disciple of a powerful family in the Yangli Divine Empire, Su Cheng would be more stubborn and start threatening him with the power of the family's ancestor or something equivalent. Yet this guy actually ended up kneeling down and begging for mercy. It seems that young Master Su is a very filial person. Very good. I've always admired filial people like you. Since that's the case, I won't hold this matter against you. Su Cheng looked ecstatic when he heard that. The stone that had been weighing down on his heart was finally lifted. I didn't expect him to be so easy to talk to. He let me off after just a simple apology. However, at this moment, Yi Zan spoke again. It just so happens that I'm free during this period of time. When the time comes, I'll pay a visit to the Su family of the Yangli Divine Empire and see how filial young Master Su is to his elders. What? Su Chenghei's expression changed drastically as he plopped onto the ground. What was this guy trying to do? I hope that what young Master Su said is true. If I go to the Su family and find out that you were lying, there will be consequences. As he spoke, Yi Zan deliberately released a trace of his spiritual power. Su Cheng felt his bones creaking and his meridians on the verge of being torn apart. His heart was filled with despair. This is bad. I'm really doomed now. PFF'd. Zhu Guoyu could barely restrain her laughter again when she saw Yi Zan's mischievous expression. She did not expect her serious teacher to have such a side. With just a few words, he had scared that guy silly. Perhaps this would end up becoming a traumatic and life-changing moment for Su Cheng. After all, Yi Zan had never said when he would actually pay a visit to the Su family, and because of this, it was impossible for Su Cheng to prepare in advance. If he really wanted to live, he could only be truly filial and play that character to the end. Alright, young Master Su. If you don't have anything else important to say, you'd better hurry back to your Su family and be filial to your elders, Yi Zan said with a mocking look. Su Chenghei's face was as pale as snow. He quickly fled with his followers. After running for dozens of kilometers as fast as he could, he finally stopped and cried out, "We're finished. What should we do now?" Elder Lin hesitated for a moment before he spoke. Young Master, although the power he displayed is equivalent to a Heaven Realm cultivator, I can sense that he is actually far more powerful. If he were to unleash his full power, even a Mystic Lord Realm expert would be no match for him. This old man still suggests that you follow his instructions and not think of taking advantage of the situation. Otherwise, you'll definitely bring a catastrophe upon our Su family. Su Chenghei's face was filled with despair when he heard that. Elder Lin was the most powerful man sent by his father, and he was also his most loyal and trusted guard. If even Elder Lin had spoken, it could only mean that Yi Zan's strength had reached an extremely terrifying level. Looking at Su Chenghei's sorry figure as he fled, Zhu Guoyu finally laughed out loud. Teacher, you were so mean just now. You scared him so much that he almost peed his pants. 384 Stealing a disciple. Yi Zan's mouth twitched when he heard this. What are you saying, girl? I was helping you vent your anger, alright. I know. Teacher is the best to me. I knew that teacher would never let others bully me. Zhu Guoyu smiled and hugged Yi Zan's arm. At first, she had been a little worried. The other party was from a powerful family in the Yangli Divine Empire. If her teacher offended him because of her, there would be a lot of trouble in the future. However, Yi Zan had always been a protective person, so how could he allow his own disciple to be bullied by others? Little girl, it's good that you understand my intentions. Yi Zan smiled and patted Zhu Guoyu's head. My precious disciple, haven't you always wanted to go home and take a look? Let's go. There won't be many opportunities to come back, so we should make haste. Teacher, please follow me. Zhu Guoyu nodded her head obediently and led the way. The town that they were in was Zhu Guoyu's hometown. Moments later, Yi Zan and Zhu Guoyu arrived in front of a dilapidated building. The buildings next to them had collapsed on the ground, covered in smoke and dust. Zhu Guoyu stood at a corner of the wall. Her gaze fell on the burnt black mural on the wall, completely stunned. The mural on the wall was probably drawn by her when she was young. Yi Zan stood quietly at the side and did not disturb her. Of course, Yi Zan was not completely idle. His spiritual sense quietly swept out to examine the surroundings. Suddenly, Yi Zan noticed subtle fluctuations. At the same time, several figures suddenly appeared in Yi Zan's field of vision. It's them. Yi Zan narrowed his eyes. It was Yuelin and her disciples. Shuiye, is this your hometown? Li Hanyi asked Li Shuiye curiously as she looked at the ruins. Li Shuiye's eyes were full of tears. She was searching the ruins frantically, as if she was looking for something. Yi Zan. Suddenly, Yuelin noticed Yi Zan, who was not far away, and walked over with a curious expression. Junior brother Yi, why are you here? Just as she said this, she saw Zhu Yuyu in the corner and suddenly understood. Li Hanyi, who had been following behind Yuelin, looked at Yi Zan curiously. Is that Yi Zan, the youngest chief of the Great Wilderness Divine Sect? Oh my god, he's so handsome. Ever since Yuelin had returned from Cloud Sky Peak and vented her frustrations, all of the cultivators from Water Sky Peak had been filled with curiosity about Yi Zan. Yi Zan looked at Yuelin and the others with an indifferent expression. I've just brought my disciple to the outside world to gain experience. Since we were out here, I brought her to her hometown to take a look. Disciple Li Hanyi greets martial uncle Yi Zan. At this moment, Li Hanyi, who was standing behind Yuelin, stepped forward with a respectful expression and bowed to Yi Zan. Hearing this, Yi Zan glanced in her direction. Then, his eyes lit up. Whoa, it seems that the disciples of Water Sky Peak are all really pretty. Perhaps they all take after their master. It was no wonder the other male cultivators of the Great Wilderness Divine Sect liked to visit Water Sky Peak. Although he was slightly startled, Yi Zan's expression was still as steady as a mountain. You must be the eldest disciple of Water Sky Peak, right? You're quite well known. You, Hua Rufeng, and Gao Tianyu are known as the three geniuses of the Great Wilderness Divine Sect. It seems you're worthy of your title. Yi Zan could sense that Li Hanyi's cultivation had already reached the first level of the materialization realm. To have reached such a level at such a young age was enough to show how terrifying Li Hanyi's level of talent was. Hearing this, Li Hanyi was overjoyed, but she still put on a humble appearance. Martial uncle Yi Zan, you're too kind. Hanyi's talent is mediocre. How can I be compared to brother? Hearing this, Yi Zan was momentarily stunned. Yuelin smiled. This girl and Hua Rufeng are biological siblings. It's just that one of them follows the father's surname and the other follows the mother's. I see. Yi Zan revealed a look of realization. At this moment, Yuelin's lips curved into a smile as she looked at Yi Zan meaningfully. Hanyi, I've never seen your martial uncle Yi speak so highly of anyone. Since he thinks highly of you, you should hurry up and ask him for advice. If your martial uncle is in a good mood, he might give you a divine rank artifact, or teach you a high-level sword technique. Yi Zan's mouth twitched when he heard this. What did this woman mean? She was clearly trying to mooch treasures off him. When Li Hanyi heard this, she immediately understood and said with a smile, okay, teacher. In the future, when I have free time, I'll definitely go to Cloud Sky Peak to ask martial uncle Yi Zan for advice on my cultivation. Martial uncle Yi Zan is a kind person. I don't think he'll refuse me, right? Yi Zan's heart was filled with curses. These ladies were really good at acting. Cough, cough. It's not a big problem. Cloud Sky Peak is quite empty, so it's good that you can come and cultivate with Yuyu. Aside from asking questions about cultivation, even if you were to become my disciple, I would still accept it. I'll never withhold any treasures or secret techniques from the disciples of Cloud Sky Peak. Li Hanyi's eyes lit up. She had heard from Li Shuiye that Yi Zan had given Zhu Yuyu high-level spiritual pills as soon as she joined Cloud Sky Peak. He had even given her the Cloud Sky Sword, which was the representative artifact of Cloud Sky Peak's heritage. Furthermore, he had been willing to infuse Zhu Yuyu with 10 years' worth of cultivation. In the entire East Continent, only Chief Yi Zan would treat his disciple so well. 385 The system's hidden function. Yuelin's expression instantly changed. Good lord, she originally just wanted to get some benefits from Yi Zan for her disciple, but she didn't expect to almost lose her precious disciple. How could she possibly agree? Li Hanyi was the eldest disciple of her Water Sky Peak and the only heir she had acknowledged. This guy is really too hateful. He actually wants to steal my disciple. When she saw Li Hanyi's expression, she suddenly felt that something was amiss. Cough, cough. The Seven Peaks competition is not far away. Hanyi, you should focus on your cultivation. Don't go to Cloud Sky Peak. When Li Hanyi heard this, she felt a little disappointed and said with a pout, "Yes, teacher." Of course, although Li Hanyi envied Zhu Guiyu, she would never betray her master. After all, ever since she had joined Water Sky Peak, Yuelin had been very kind to her and very meticulous in his teaching. Besides, Li Hanyi would never do something like that. When Yuelin saw this, she could not help but heave a sigh of relief in her heart. Then, she glared fiercely at Yi Zan. "You're quite ruthless. Remember this, you're not allowed to have any thoughts about my Hanyi in the future. Otherwise, I'll fight you to the death." Hearing this, Yi Zan smiled, but inwardly, he thought to himself. "You actually wanted to trick me. Now you know the consequences, hee hee." Of course, Yi Zan still looked innocent on the surface. "Senior Sister Yuelin, what are you saying? I'm innocent. You were the one who suggested this. Why would I snatch your disciple?" Senior Sister Yuelin's words make me very sad. HMPH. I can't be bothered with this. In any case, you can't touch Hanyi. Yuelin snorted. Hearing this, Yi Zan laughed inwardly. "I've never been afraid of anything, so why would I be afraid of your threat?" His lips curled into a playful smile, and then he waved his sleeve. A golden divine flower pendant suddenly appeared in his hand. "Martial niece Hanyi, this is the first time we've met, and I don't have any good magic artifacts with me. The only thing I have is this golden divine flower pendant. Take it as my gift to you. This is a supreme grade black rank magic artifact. If you wear it, it will greatly aid your cultivation." As soon as he finished speaking, Yi Zan felt a gaze that seemed to want to eat him alive. Of course, this gaze belonged to Yuelin. This guy is too much. He is blatantly tempting my disciple. Li Hanyi was stunned and took the golden divine flower pendant in a daze. Instantly, she felt her ability to sense the surrounding spiritual energy increase sharply, and her cultivation speed increased as well. Martial Uncle Yi Zan was right. This golden divine flower pendant was indeed very helpful for cultivation. "Thank you, Martial Uncle Yi Zan." Li Hanyi bowed to Yi Zan with a happy expression on her face. Yi Zan was simply too generous, casually giving her a black rank magic artifact. As the rumors said, he was not stingy at all. "Senior Sister Yuelin, what's wrong with you? Are you feeling unwell?" Yi Zan snickered inwardly when he saw Yuelin's pained expression. However, he pretended to be clueless. Yi Zan had to admit that although Tian Zan did not impart much knowledge to him in that short 100-year period, the treasures he left behind were still of some use. A golden divine flower pendant had almost earned him a new disciple. The increase in cultivation speed was of no use to Yi Zan at all. It was just a useful trinket at best. When Yuelin saw this, she glared at Yi Zan fiercely before turning around and leaving in anger. After receiving the gift, Li Hanyi was overjoyed. However, when she saw her teacher's angry figure leaving, she looked at Yi Zan with embarrassment. "Martial Uncle Yi Zan, I'm really sorry. I'll go with Master first. In the future, I'll definitely visit Cloud Sky Peak to ask for advice." "Sure, the doors of Cloud Sky Peak will always be open to Martial Niece," Yi Zan smiled and said. Li Hanyi then bade farewell to Yi Zan and quickly caught up with Yuelin. However, at this moment, a mechanical voice rang out in Yi Zan's mind. Ding. As the host has given his disciple a supreme grade black ranked golden divine flower pendant, the host has received a randomized 100x critical reward. Congratulations. The host has obtained the innate divine jade. Hearing this, Yi Zan raised his eyebrows, his eyes full of questions. Ding. This is a new function developed after the system upgrade. Li Hanyi is also a disciple of the Great Wilderness Divine Sect. The sect that the host is currently bound to is also the Great Wilderness Divine Sect. Ding. All of the disciples of the Great Wilderness Divine Sect can trigger the system's reward activation. Ding. A warm reminder. After the system upgrade, there are many hidden functions. If the host meets the conditions, they will be activated automatically. Hearing the system's explanation, Yi Zan wanted to laugh out loud. He had no idea that there would be so many benefits after upgrading the system. Did this not mean that he could poach some of the other chief's disciples? The most important thing was that regardless of whether he was successful in poaching them, he could obtain the system's rewards through them. This was a very profitable enterprise. Of course, Yi Zan's character in taking in disciples had always been the same. Only those with excellent character were qualified to be his disciple. After all, if he accidentally accepted an ungrateful person, would it not bring him endless trouble in the future? 386 Ancient Beasts Descendant. This is the innate divine jade. When Yizan's spiritual sense entered the system's storage space, he discovered a jade stone exuding a divine aura. The spiritual power contained inside it was extremely terrifying. If one carried it with them, not only could it increase one's cultivation speed to a certain extent, but it also had a detoxification effect. I didn't expect to get such a benefit from teasing senior sister Yuelin. What an unexpected surprise. Yizan smiled, squinted his eyes, and stretched. Not far away, Zhu Yuyu wandered around in the ruins for half a day and finally found some items from her past. Although they were not valuable items, they still contained the memories of her and her parents. After doing all this, Zhu Yuyu took a final look at her desolate home again, and then returned to Yizan's side with a determined look. Teacher, let's leave. Yizan patted Zhu Yuyu's head and asked gently, little girl, don't you want to take a second look? The path of immortal cultivation is long and endless, and you may never have the chance to come back. Zhu Yuyu turned around once again and took a deep look at her home. Then, SSHE gritted her teeth and said with a determined look in her eyes, I've already seen enough. Now that my parents are no longer around, staying here any longer is meaningless. I'll only end up sadder if we stay longer. Teacher, let's go. Yizan did not say much. After all, ever since she chose to embark on the path of immortal cultivation, it meant that she would eventually have to cut off all contact with the mortal world. No matter how sad she was, time would solve everything. Yuelin and the others had already decided to leave as well. Seeing this, Yizan thought for a moment and decided to ask Yuelin where he should go next. At this moment, a group of refugees suddenly fled from the dilapidated old town. They looked extremely panicked, as if something terrifying was chasing them from behind. Seeing this, Yizan reached out and grabbed an old man. Old man, what happened? Young man, hurry up and run. The berserk beasts are coming again. If you don't run, you'll be eaten. The old man who was stopped by Yizan was extremely pale and terrified. Berserk beasts. Hearing this, Yizan narrowed his eyes and released the old man's hand, who frantically ran away. Yizan's gaze was focused in the direction where the refugees had fled from. Dust suddenly filled his vision, and the ground trembled slightly. His spiritual sense immediately swept out. Heaven realm. Its aura is extremely strong, and its bloodline is quite pure. Could it be a descendant of an ancient beast? Quote. What, are you saying that it's a descendant of an ancient beast? Yuelin, who had just heard the commotion, jumped in shock. Everyone was confused. Li Hanyi even asked, Teacher, what are ancient beasts? Other than the human race, there are many other powerful races in the mystic world. The Great Wilderness Divine Sect, and even the entire Yangli Divine Empire occupy only a small portion of the East Continent. In the boundless Divine Mountains, there are many descendants of ancient beasts that have survived since ancient times. The blood of ancient beasts flows through their bodies. Ancient beasts are extremely terrifying. With the support of their bloodline power, they are almost invincible within the same realm. Even our human race's geniuses might not be able to defeat an ancient beast of the same cultivation realm. Hearing this, everyone's hearts were filled with shock, and the surrounding atmosphere suddenly became tense. At this moment, Yizan retracted his spiritual sense and looked up at the sky. He saw that several bright streaks of light were already flying in the direction of the ancient beast's descendant. Let's go over too. As soon as he finished speaking, Yizan took Zhu Yuyu's hand and turned into a streak of light, flying in that direction. Beside him, Yuelin did not fall behind and gave Li Hanyi a few instructions. Hanyi, bring your junior sisters along and quickly follow us. Although the ancient beast's descendant is powerful, it's also extremely rare. If we can obtain its flesh and body parts, this trip will not have been in vain. As soon as she finished speaking, Yuelin left with Li Shuiye. Li Hanyi followed suit with a few junior sisters. At this moment, the boundless mountain was filled with flames that looked like they were going to burn everything in the world. A monstrous killing intent gushed out from the eyes of a huge ape. Its brutal aura suddenly swept out, and its mountain-like fists pounded its chest ruthlessly as it roared toward the sky. Above the ape, there were hundreds of figures. These were all cultivators from the various holy lands, as well as young cultivators who had come out to train. Ha ha ha, I didn't expect my luck to be so good that I'd actually encounter an ancient beast's descendant out here. Elder Lin, Elder Li, you two have to stay on your toes. Once this ape is heavily injured by everyone, you have to seize the opportunity and snatch the precious bone inside its body for me. Su Changhai's gaze fell on the violent ape, and his eyes were filled with greed. Earlier, he was so frightened by Yizan's that he quickly sent a message to his family and called Li Tianai, the only heaven realm cultivator in the family besides his father. With Li Tianai by his side, Su Cheng suddenly regained the confidence to be arrogant once more. Don't worry, young master. I will do my best. Although Li Tianai was a powerful heaven realm expert, his expression remained serious. After all, there were many experts around from the various holy lands. Oh, I didn't expect to meet young Master Su in such a place. It's only been a few days, how have you become so disheveled? At that moment, an enigmatic voice suddenly rang out in Su Chenghe's ears. Su Cheng frowned when he heard that. He looked up with a slightly cold gaze and was greeted by the face of the person he hated the most. The descendant of the Xia family of the Yangli Divine Empire, Charlotte. This guy was his sworn enemy. However, Charlotte's sarcastic words were not surprising. After all, Su Cheng was still in a sorry state after running from Yizan. He had almost wet his pants and his whole body was covered in dust. His luxurious clothes had been torn apart by Yizan's sharp sword qi. Su Cheng was about to flare up, but when his gaze fell on the two old men beside Charlotte, he could only take a deep breath. He's just goading me. I'm not going to be fooled by this kind of hedonistic son who only relies on his family's power. Su Cheng kept giving himself psychological cues to ignore Charlotte's existence. 387 Taking Yizan in as your little brother. Seeing this, Charlotte was immediately a little displeased and spoke in a mocking tone. Young Master Su is a famous person in the Yangli Divine Empire. Who is so blind as to bully young Master Su like this? As long as young Master Su says the word, I'll immediately give that guy a good beating. When Su Cheng heard this, he looked at Charlotte with disdain. However, before he could speak, two figures suddenly appeared in his field of vision. They were the same figures that had been engraved into the depths of his soul. Su Cheng could not help but tremble. Damn it, why did I bump into this guy again? Elder Lin's expression changed when he saw this. He quickly told Li Tianai what had happened. Seeing this, Li Tianai took a deep look at Yizan. His spiritual sense swept out, wanting to probe Yizan's cultivation. Suddenly, an invisible sword qi rippled out and instantly drowned out Li Tianai's spiritual sense, almost severely injuring him. This man is so powerful. His attainments in sword Dao are especially terrifying. Li Tianai was dumbfounded. This man was clearly able to transform his spiritual sense into sword qi. It looked ordinary on the surface, but if an external force tried to attack, the sword qi would inevitably counterattack automatically. This ape is a descendant of an ancient beast. Yizan's gaze fell on the huge ape. The Chaos Heart Technique method also recorded information about ancient beasts, including their inheritance, which parts of their bodies were valuable, their strengths and weaknesses, and so on. The ape below him seemed to have been contaminated by a strange force. Its eyes were full of ruthlessness. It had obviously lost its sense of rationality, which was why it was blindly attacking everything around it. I say, young Master Su, don't tell me that you've been scared witless by this ape beast. Suddenly, an enigmatic voice rang out from not far away. Hearing this, Yizan could not help but look over curiously. Ha, it's actually this guy. A handsome young man and two old men suddenly appeared in Yizan's field of vision. At this moment, the three of them had their backs to him and looked extremely nervous. They clenched their hands and feet and looked like they were about to escape. Yizan's lips curved into a smile. Was this not young Master Su who loved to be filial to the elders? Damn it. When Su Cheng saw Yizan looking over, his expression was unsightly. He wanted nothing more than to burn Charlotte alive for attracting Yizan's attention to him. Great. Just great. He couldn't run now. He had already been discovered by that fiend. Ahem, I didn't expect to meet Senior again. Since he could not escape, it was best that he just confronted the problem head on. Su Cheng took a deep breath and forced a smile onto his face. He looked at Yizan with a fawning expression. Isn't this young Master Su, who loves to show respect to his elders? It seems that we are fated to meet again. Yizan looked at Su Cheng with a playful gaze. Is there something wrong? Why did it feel like young Master Su wanted to run away the moment he saw me? How is that possible? Senior's bearing is extraordinary. Compared to you, I feel insignificant, like grass on the side of the road. At this moment, Su Cheng was trying his best to curry favor with Yizan. As long as he could survive, his dignity mattered not. Hearing this, Yizan almost laughed, but he still maintained a calm expression. Su Chenghe's heart skipped a beat when he saw this. This guy's strength was so terrifying. Was Li Tianai capable of defeating him? He should not have left home today without consulting the zodiac calendar. Why did it feel like everything was just bad luck today? Tisk tisk. At that moment, Su Cheng suddenly heard a mocking voice. He did not even need to look to know that it was definitely Charlotte. I'm really surprised. The eldest young master of the Su family is actually flattering someone like a dog. Charlotte walked over with an arrogant expression and glanced at Yi Zan indifferently, his eyes full of arrogance. After all, the two old men behind him were Heaven Realm experts, so why should he be afraid of Yi Zan? Most importantly, he had never been on good terms with Su Cheng. Now that he finally saw a chance, he wanted to seize this opportunity to suppress Su Cheng. Oh, it seems like you're braver than this filial son. Yi Zan could not help but raise his eyebrows. Such nonsense. Of course I am, Charlotte said arrogantly. Su Cheng almost burst out laughing when he saw this. Right, keep it up and anger this guy. I wanna see you beaten to a pulp. At this moment, a bright light flashed by, and a beautiful figure suddenly appeared beside Yi Zan. Charlotte and Su Cheng could not help but lick their lips at her graceful figure and beautiful face. Damn it, why does this guy have so many beauties around him? It's so unfair. Su Cheng knew very well that he could not afford to offend this beauty at the moment. However, if he could goad Charlotte into offending Yi Zan, that would naturally be for the best. If he could bring down the Shaw family with him, it would be a tremendous credit to his name. At this moment, Charlotte's eyes were bloodshot. He stared unwaveringly at Yuelin's figure. Then, he glanced at Yi Zan arrogantly. Hee, I thought you had some skills, but I didn't expect you to be a pretty boy. However, the beauty beside you does look good. I am the eldest young master of the Shaw family of the Yangli Divine Empire, Charlotte. If you know what's good for you, you should quickly offer this beauty to me. If this young master enjoys her service, maybe I will even take you in as a little brother. Charlotte's face was filled with confidence. Although Su Cheng could not afford to offend this guy, it did not mean that he could not. Moreover, Yi Zan's face was extremely unfamiliar, so he must not have come from a major faction. At most, he would just be an ordinary cultivator from a holy land, so what was there to fear? Besides, there was a great beauty beside him, how could he let this chance slip by? 388 Handsome kid, are you all bark and no bite? So you're saying that you want to be my big brother? Hearing this, Yi Zan chuckled. In the past 100 years, although he had not left the great wilderness divine sect, he had long heard that the descendants of the powerful families of the Yangli Divine Empire were extremely foppish. After seeing two of them in person, he totally agreed with the sentiment. They were just a bunch of protected flowers that grew up in a greenhouse. They had never experienced the hardships of the world and thought that they could look down on everything by relying on the strength of their families. It was truly lamentable. Do you think you have the right? Yi Zan smiled, but his eyes suddenly turned cold. At the same time, Yi Zan's spiritual sense was observing the actions of the ape beast. Although it had gone berserk, it was still a descendant of an ancient beast and could not be underestimated. When Yuelin saw this, she took a step back. Charlotte's words just now had indeed made her unhappy, but in comparison, she was more interested in seeing Yi Zan's cultivation level. If Yi Zan could not defeat them, she would step in. What's wrong? You dare to refuse me? Charlotte flew into a rage when he heard this. At this moment, Yuelin's lips curled into an arc as she directly added fuel to the fire. This little handsome guy is quite good looking, but is he all bark and no bite? Yi Zan's mouth twitched when he heard this. This damn woman was stirring up trouble. She had ignited the fire of that good-for-nothing young master. As expected, Charlotte immediately jumped up in excitement when he heard Yuelin's words. What kind of joke is that? There's no way I wouldn't dare to act. I'd like to see what abilities you have. You might have fooled Su Cheng, but you won't fool me. Your name. I don't kill nameless people. Oh, Yi Zan looked at Charlotte indifferently and said with a faint smile. Great Wilderness Divine Sect, Yi Zan. What? As soon as he finished speaking, Charlotte's expression changed. He drew in a deep breath of cold air. The surrounding cultivators were also shocked when they heard this. The Great Wilderness Divine Sect was a top-tier holy land. Even when ranked within the entire East continent, it was a behemoth. Even the royal family of the Yangli Divine Empire, let alone the other major families within it. What should he do now? If a fight broke out, the Shaw family would not be able to withstand the wrath of the Great Wilderness Divine Sect. However, if he backed down now, he would lose his dignity. Furthermore, He would probably be laughed at by Su Chang for years if that happened. Charlotte felt remorseful, but at the same time, he also felt a little hopeful. If the other party was just an ordinary cultivator from the Great Wilderness Divine Sect, it would not matter if he killed him. The Great Wilderness Divine Sect would not hold the Shah family responsible for the death of an ordinary disciple. HMPH. Do you really think that you can scare me by using the name of the Great Wilderness Divine Sect? You're just an ordinary disciple of the Great Wilderness Divine Sect. Even if I kill you, no one will care. Charlotte forced himself to remain calm as he sneered. At this moment, Yuelin's voice rang out once again. Handsome kid, you may not know this, but this guy is not an ordinary disciple of the Great Wilderness Divine Sect. He is one of the 7 chiefs of the Great Wilderness Divine Sect and the master of Cloud Sky Peak. Charlotte was dumbfounded when he heard this. FCK. He was done for. What? That guy is actually a chief of the Great Wilderness Divine Sect. When Su Chang heard this, he sucked in a breath of cold air and rejoiced. Fortunately, he was not the one who provoked Yi Zan. Otherwise, not only would he be dead, but the Su family would be doomed as well. Ha ha ha. Charlotte, you're dead for sure now, aren't you? Daring to provoke such a person is equivalent to offending the entire Great Wilderness Divine Sect. Your Shah family is worthless in comparison. Su Chang was relieved, but also frustrated. After all, he had just expressed in front of Yi Zan that he was a filial son who respected his elders. If the other party were to discover his lies one day, his entire family might be uprooted. Su Chang felt terrible at the thought of this. Young master. After learning of Yi Zan's identity, the 2 old men behind Charlotte quickly walked over and pulled him back. One of the old men had a serious expression on his face as he bowed to Yi Zan apologetically. This old man greets Lord Yi Zan. My young master has unintentionally offended you. I hope you can forgive his mistake on account of his youthful ignorance. Oh, Yi Zan smiled and with a playful look in his eyes. You seem to have gotten the wrong person. I should be the one saying this. I was just thinking about how I should beg for young Master Shah's forgiveness. Why did you put the cart before the horse? Hearing this, the old man's expression changed. He understood what Yi Zan was implying. As soon as he finished speaking, the other old man immediately became somewhat displeased. Elder Yi Zan, don't go too far. Although our young master is indeed in the wrong, he has already apologized. The Great Wilderness Divine Sect may be powerful, but our Shah family is not a pushover. HMPH. If I want to use force, what can you do? Yi Zan's gaze suddenly turned cold. First, he signaled Zhu Guiyu to take a step back, and then a powerful aura erupted from his body. The terrifying power of his heaven realm cultivation swept across the surroundings. When the 2 old men saw this, their expressions changed drastically. They quickly rushed over to protect Charlotte behind them, and also released the power of their heaven cultivation realm. Yi Zan took a step forward. His eyes shone with bright divine light. His entire being seemed to be as sharp as a sword. With just a slight movement of his palm, the plants in the surroundings were sliced in half, and a strong gust of wind arose. 389 One strike. What terrifying sword chi. When Yuelin saw this, she was shocked. Although she had guessed that Yi Zan was quite powerful, she did not expect this guy to have such high attainments in terms of sword Dao. As their auras clashed, it immediately attracted everyone's attention. Many people were confused when they saw this. Fellow cultivators, look, those 2 are the heaven realm cultivators of the Shah family, but who is the young man facing them? I don't recognize him at all. A heaven realm expert with this level of sword chi should be quite rare, so why does he seem entirely unfamiliar? Yi Zan smiled, reached out, and a blade of grass suddenly appeared in his hand. As Yi Zan's sword chi spread out, the ape beast became even more violent. Roar! The ape beast beat its chest hard and then went all out on the cultivators surrounding it. Yi Zan's spiritual sense had been watching its movements the entire time, so he immediately noticed its attempt to break out of the encirclement. My time is very precious. I can't be bothered to waste too much time on you. I'll give you a chance. If you can survive one strike from me, I will not pursue this matter. Yi Zan looked at his opponents coldly. The blade of grass in his hand turned into a giant sword that fell from the heavens. The wind around it tore the sky apart as the destructive force bore down on the 2 old men. When the 2 old men saw this, their expressions turned grave. However, they could not retreat. After all, without their protection, Charlotte would definitely die. Let's go all out. The 2 old men looked at each other, their eyes filled with determination. Yi Zan had also said that as long as they could survive this sword strike, he would write off the matter. Immediately, they erupted with spiritual power, and used their most powerful artifacts and divine powers to conjure up a huge stone shield that flew up to block the giant sword. Boom! As the two collided, the shockwaves shook the surroundings. The giant sword glowed with divine light as it struck the stone shield. Moments later, the two old men were sent flying like cannonballs. PFF'd. The two old men both spat out blood, and their auras turned chaotic. After just a single sword strike, they had both been severely injured. What? How is this possible? How can his strength be so terrifying? Seeing this, Charlotte plopped onto the ground in fear, his face extremely pale. Sigh, I'm still lacking. It seems that I haven't completely mastered the Flora sword technique. Yi Zan was slightly disappointed that he had not been able to kill those two Heaven Realm cultivators with that sword strike. Although it was only the first move of the Flora sword technique, it was not something an ordinary Heaven Realm expert could resist. Of course, if Yi Zan had used the Cloud Heaven sword, the result would have been completely different. Although Yi Zan was not satisfied, Yuelin, Zhu Guoyu, and the others were all dumbfounded. Is this martial uncle Yi Zan's true strength? Isn't this a bit too terrifying? Li Hanyi, who had just rushed over, had witnessed the scene upon her arrival. As expected, the rumors can't be trusted. Martial uncle Yi Zan was so domineering just now. Li Hanyi and the other disciples of the Water Sky Peak looked at Yi Zan in awe. But when did the Great Wilderness Divine Sect have such a domineering sword technique? Yuelin was both shocked and puzzled by this. However, she did not dwell on it, as everyone's attention turned to the ape beast that was on the verge of breaking out of the encirclement. Her spiritual power transformed into a giant palm that slapped the ape beast. Evil creature, where do you think you are running off to? The crowd was once again shocked. Another Heaven Realm expert. Teacher. Just then, Zhu Guoyu realized that while the experts were fighting the ape beast, the two old men who were injured by Yi Zan earlier had taken advantage of the chaos to escape with Charlotte. My precious disciple, stay here. I'll be back after I've dealt with this ape. Yi Zan could not be bothered with Charlotte and the others. Instead, he gave Zhu Guoyu some instructions. All right, teacher. Zhu Guoyu nodded her head obediently, then quickly followed Li Hanyi and the others. The surrounding scene was too chaotic, and the cultivators participating in the battle were extremely powerful. It was not something that rookies like them could interfere with. Yi Zan took a step forward and turned into a streak of light, chasing after the ape beast. Roar. In the face of danger, the ape's breathing became heavier, and its lantern-sized pupils surged with monstrous killing intent. Moments later, the ancient demon ape roared at the sky, and mysterious patterns appeared on its huge body. This was the power of its precious bone. Ha ha ha. This ape beast really does have a precious bone. My trip was not in vain. At this moment, an old man in a gray robe laughed in the sky. The blood-red long saber in his hand flashed with terrifying light as he slashed toward the ape beast. The gray-robed elder was an elder from the immoral divine sect, and he was also a Heaven Realm cultivator. Yuelin was no stranger to him. Dazzled divine light burst forth as Yuelin's giant palm smashed into the ape beast. However, its physical defense was too strong, and her attack failed to cause fatal damage. 390 precious bone in hand. Damn it. No matter what, I can't let that old man obtain the precious bone. Yuelin was about to send a voice transmission to Yi Zan, but then noticed that he was already in front of the ape. He glanced at the elder of the immortal divine sect, and a cold smile appeared on his face. With me around, who would dare to covet the precious bone of this ape beast? Yi Zan clenched his fist, and another blade of grass appeared. Sword chi filled the sky before a thunderous strike slashed toward the ape beast. Damn it. This guy is too strong. We have to stop him. The gray-robed elder who shouted was Sun Mobai, an elder of the immortal divine sect. Now that the ape beast was being restrained by multiple Heaven Realm cultivators, it could barely move. It was the best time to take the precious bone. At this moment, a Heaven Realm expert suddenly attacked Yi Zan to stop him. However, Yi Zan was as fast as lightning, and he dodged the attack as his sword strike simultaneously landed on the ape beast. Roar. The powerful sword chi left a deep wound on the ape beast and it let out a furious roar. However, it was losing its strength rapidly due to its severe injuries. The precious bone that was originally shining brightly was starting to dim. Seeing it severely injured, many of the Heaven Realm cultivators could no longer restrain themselves, and used their strongest divine powers in an attempt to wrest the precious bone away. However, they were no match for Yizan in terms of speed. His grass sword carved out the precious bone with methodical precision. Detestable. I'll get you for this. Sun Mobai cursed. Murderous intent flashed across the depths of his eyes. He was prepared to attack Yizan while he was carving out the precious bone. At this moment, he sensed Yuelin's gaze, which was locked onto Sun Mobai. Damn it. They are in cahoots. When Sun Mobai saw this, his expression turned extremely ugly. Helplessly, Sun Mobai could only choose to give up. Who is that person? For a moment, everyone's eyes were filled with shock. This guy had already reached the heaven realm at such a young age. In time, he would definitely become a top-notch expert in the mystic world. Once a cultivator reached the mystic lord realm, they could be considered overlords of a region. Even the Yangli Divine Empire would not dare to rashly provoke a mystic lord realm expert. Theatperson is the youngest chief of the Great Wilderness Divine Sect, and the master of Cloud Sky Peak, Yi Zan. At this moment, someone answered everyone's doubts. The person who spoke up was also a cultivator from the Great Wilderness Divine Sect, so he was naturally no stranger to Yi Zan. What? That young man is the Cloud Sky Peak's chief. Everyone's eyes widened in shock. However, it all made sense now. The Great Wilderness Divine Sect had existed for tens of millions of years and was an extremely powerful holy land. It was not unusual for a few geniuses to appear every generation. However, Yi Zan seemed particularly capable, severely injuring two Heaven Realm experts with a single sword strike, and then taking the precious bone of the ape beast despite countless competitors. He was too eye-catching. The Great Wilderness Divine Sect. Hearing this, Sun Mobai squinted his eyes, and then a smile appeared on his face. Ha ha ha, I was just wondering who it was. I didn't expect it to be a cultivator from the Great Wilderness Divine Sect. It's a pleasure to meet you. After Yi Zan put the ape beast's precious bone into his storage ring, he looked at Sun Mobai indifferently. And you are? I am Sun Mobai, an elder of the Immortal Divine Sect. I am a good friend of Chief Gao Shun. Fellow Taoist has shown off your remarkable abilities and surprised me. If you don't mind, we can be friends, Sun Mobai said with a smile. Although it was a pity that he could not get the precious bone, making a powerful friend was not bad either. However, mentioning Gao Shun was the wrong thing to do in this case. Gao Shun, since that's the case, there's no need to get to know each other. Yi Zan looked at him indifferently, and then turned around and left. Now that he had obtained the precious bone, it was time for him to leave. When Sun Mobai saw Yi Zan's reaction, his eyes were filled with confusion. What the FCK was going on? Was he not just smiling a little just now? What changed? Wait, can it be that this guy isn't on good terms with Gao Shun? Sun Mobai was a wily old fox, and he immediately thought of the reason. Seeing Yi Zan had returned, Yuelin said with a smile, "Congratulations, junior brother Yi. As a descendant of an ancient beast, the precious bone of that ape beast is extremely precious. With its help, I'm sure that junior brother will be able to reach the mystic lord realm in no time at all." At the thought of this, Yuelin felt a little envious. Yi Zan naturally noticed the change in Yuelin's expression, but he could only shrug. The ape beast's precious bone was indeed very useful to him. It was all just luck. Just now, if senior sister had not lent me a hand, I would definitely not have been able to obtain the precious bone so easily, Yi Zan said with a smile. 391 Feng Xian. Yi Zan then bade farewell to Yuelin. Senior sister, now that the ape beast has been dealt with, I'm going to take you elsewhere to gain experience. We'll meet again if fate allows it. Yuelin nodded and did not ask him to stay. However, when she saw Yi Zan and Zhu Yuyu leaving, she suddenly felt a sense of loss. This was especially so when she recalled how the trashy junior brother that she had looked down upon previously had displayed strength that far surpassed her own. Her emotions were in a complicated state. She had an inexplicable premonition that the distance between her and Yi Zan would only grow larger and larger in the future. At this moment, the disciples behind Yuelin were in a heated discussion. Oh my god, Martial Uncle Yi is too powerful. That sword chi just now was too overbearing. Also, I'm not sure if you all noticed it, but he didn't use any magic artifacts. He used that grass sword to suppress those cultivators. Just thinking about it makes my blood boil. After a short while, Yuelin also left with Li Hanyi and the others. However, after this incident, Yi Zan's fame began to spread throughout the Yangli Divine Empire, and even to the neighboring empires. Now, people knew that in addition to Gongsun Shoyu and Gao Shun, there was another powerful chief in the Great Wilderness Divine Sect. In a certain place, many cultivators were gathered in a luxurious restaurant. Have you heard of Yizan? It's said that he's one of the chiefs of the Great Wilderness Divine Sect and is extremely powerful. I've heard that in the battle with the ape beast, Yizan severely injured two of the Shah family's Heaven Realm experts with just one sword strike. The most outrageous thing is that Yizan used grass as a sword and didn't even use a magic artifact. His strength is really terrifying. In this restaurant, many cultivators were in a heated discussion. He's the master of Cloud Sky Peak, and seems to be quite young. Furthermore, I heard people say that he's quite handsome. If we meet him in the future, we must be careful and not provoke such an existence. Otherwise, we might lose our lives. At this moment, in a private room on the top floor of the restaurant, a beautiful woman in a sky blue robe and a veil elegantly raised the wine glass in her hand and slowly drank it. Her mouth opened slightly. Great Wilderness Divine Sect, Yizan, huh? Your Highness, what are you talking about? Seeing Feng Xian fall into a state of deep thought, her maidservant asked curiously. Feng Xian smiled and said, "It's nothing. I'm just curious if Yizan whom those cultivators are talking about is as powerful as they make him out to be." When her maidservant Exener heard this, she tilted her head and pondered for a moment before speaking. "Your Highness, we've seen the strength of the Shah family's Heaven Realm experts. Yizan was able to defeat these two with one sword strike, so his strength must be terrifying. Your Highness, weren't you hesitating about which holy land to enter? It seems that the Great Wilderness Divine Sect is a good choice." Hearing this, Feng Xian's eyes instantly lit up. "Exener, you're right. The Great Wilderness Divine Sect is indeed a good choice." The reason why Feng Xian was here was because she had secretly escaped. It was common practice for empires to arrange political marriages. Now, in order to consolidate the power of the empire, her father wanted her to marry the prince of the Hanhai Divine Empire. Feng Xian was very stubborn regarding certain matters, so how could she obey the arrangement of her father? She knew that only by becoming strong enough could she reverse this fate. Therefore, entering a top-tier holy land to cultivate was her best choice. During this period of time, Feng Xian had visited many holy lands, but unfortunately, none of them met her expectations. Hearing the rumors about Yizan and the strength of the Great Wilderness Divine Sect, Feng Xian became interested. There's no hurry. I need to observe them carefully. Feng Xian blinked and stood up. All right, we should leave now. Then, the two of them walked out of the restaurant. As she had escaped, other than Exener, Feng Xian did not even have a single guard by her side. Moreover, in order to avoid trouble and to prevent her identity as a princess from being exposed, Feng Xian chose to wear a white veil to cover her face. 2 hours later, Feng Xian and Exener's carriage slowly arrived at the border of the territory. However, at this moment, the carriage suddenly came to a stop. Exener's face turned pale. Your Highness, I'm sorry. We're in trouble. When Feng Xian heard this, she could not help but raise her brows. After that, she opened the curtains of the carriage. Her gaze scanned the surroundings, and her brows immediately furrowed. A pair of blood-red eyes suddenly appeared in her field of vision. This is the edge of the East Continent. The Holy Lands should have killed most of the berserk beasts. Logically speaking, there shouldn't be any berserk beasts here. Feng Xian's heart was filled with suspicion. Ever since she had escaped the palace, she had never encountered a berserk beast. Furthermore, Exener was only a 9th-level mystic Meridian Realm cultivator, while she herself was an ordinary mortal. At this moment, Feng Xian was flustered. Red Hell Snake. The beast with blood-red eyes was a red hell snake that was flicking its tongue. It was currently looking at Feng Xian with a cold gaze. 392 saved by a lady. What should we do now? Feng Xian's forehead was covered in cold sweat and her heart was filled with panic. Your Highness, don't panic. Quickly take the carriage and leave. I'll deal with the red hell snake. Exener's eyes were resolute as she spoke. Although she knew that she was no match for the red hell snake, the princess's safety was more important than anything else. Exener had been sent to the imperial palace by her family since she was young. Not only was she Feng Xian's maidservant, but she had also grown up with her and were basically like sisters, which is why Feng Xian had brought her along. Now that her sister was in danger, she had to act. Your Highness, hurry up and leave. Exener took out the sword hidden in the carriage and walked down with a determined look in her eyes. However, Feng Xian did not choose to run away. Instead, she smiled. The panic in her eyes was gone as well. Exener, you and I are like sisters. How can I abandon you? Besides, this red hell snake is extremely venomous and fast. Unless we kill it, we won't be able to escape. Although she was about to face death, Feng Xian did not feel the slightest ounce of regret. Instead of staying in the palace and finally submitting to the fate decided for her by the imperial family, death was a release for her. Exener, you're a 9th level mystic meridian realm cultivator. If you go all out and escape, you might have a chance. Hurry up and leave. Don't worry about me, Feng Xian said to Exener. She was an ordinary mortal, so it was impossible for her to escape. It was better for Exener to try and escape. At least she would have a chance. No, how could I abandon you, Your Highness? No matter what the outcome is, I will always be by your side to protect you. Looking at the red hell snake that was flicking its tongue continuously, Exener's sword trembled uncontrollably. However, her eyes were filled with determination. Whoosh! At this moment, a strange red light flashed across the eyes of the red hell snake. Then, its body moved nimbly and rapidly toward them. Exener's expression was solemn. She poured all of the power in her body into the sword in her hand, preparing to seize the opportunity to slash the snake. However, at this moment, a bright white light suddenly fell from the sky and landed on the snake's body. Originally, when the red hell snake launched its attack, Feng Xian had already closed her eyes tightly and was prepared to welcome death. However, she suddenly noticed a beautiful figure descending from the sky. Feng Xian raised her head and looked up. This woman seemed to have a naturally cold temperament, and was holding a longsword as she hovered in the air. She looked like a sword immortal. Feng Xian's eyes lit up. Someone had come to their rescue. They were saved. She heaved a sigh of relief and a smile appeared on her face. There were many cultivators from the various holy lands around the East continent. This woman must have sensed the aura of a berserk beast and rushed over. After being stabbed by the cold sword chi, the red hell snake displayed a pained expression, and the crimson light in its eyes became even more intense. It was obvious that it was enraged. It flicked its tongue and stared at Zhu Guiyu. Moments later, it spat out a mouthful of flames. Seeing this, Zhu Guiyu's expression did not change at all. The cloud sky sword in her hand suddenly began to spin, and her sword chi easily blocked its flames. After that, the cloud sky sword vibrated as her sword chi ruthlessly struck the red hell snake. Buzz! The sharp sword chi immediately left a few deep wounds on the snake's body, frightening it into fleeing. However, Zhu Guiyu would not give it the opportunity to escape. Although the red hell snake in front of her was not particularly strong, it was her first true opponent. This was also the test her teacher had set for her. Do you think you can escape? The spiritual power in her body gushed out, and her speed suddenly increased. Then, she flew toward the red hell snake. At the same time, the cloud sky sword in Zhu Guiyu's hand surged with sword chi, and she began to fight fiercely with the snake. At this moment, a gentle breeze blew past. A handsome young man in white had appeared beside the carriage. He was watching the battle between Zhu Guiyu and the red hell snake with interest. Feng Xian's expression changed when she saw this. However, when she saw the handsome man's outfit, her eyes lit up. Dressed in white, has a lotus flower pendant, and is accompanied by a beautiful young lady. He matches the description. Is it really him? Was her luck that great? She had just been talking about him with Exener not too long ago. Might you be Chief Yi Zan from the Great Wilderness Divine Sect? Feng Xian took off her white veil with a smile and asked in an elegant tone. Hearing this, Yi Zan glanced at Feng Xian with some doubt. Could it be that you've heard of me? It was really Yi Zan. Feng Xian was inwardly overjoyed. She immediately did a double take. This guy was exactly as the rumors had described. He was dressed in white clothes, and he was really handsome. After that, Feng Xian smiled elegantly and said, Chief Yi Zan's fame has spread within the East continent recently. Your feats of defeating 2 Heaven Realm experts with a single sword strike, and your acquisition of the ape beast's precious bone, has shocked the East continent. When I first heard the news, I had hoped to meet you one day. However, I didn't expect to meet you so soon. It really is my good fortune. 393 Another disciple. Hearing this, Yi Zan frowned. Why had the news spread so quickly? Did these cultivators have nothing better to do than gossip and spread rumors? So now that you've met me, what do you think? Yi Zan responded lightly. His expression was calm and indifferent. Seeing this, Feng Xian felt more admiration for him. Very few people would be unmoved by her true appearance, and after receiving praise, it was sufficient to show how steady Yi Zan's temperament was. Feng Xian's eyes lit up. Such a young, powerful, and determined expert. Was he not the perfect teacher she was looking for? As a princess, Feng Xian had naturally seen many experts, which is why she was so particular about acknowledging someone as her teacher. Then, Feng Xian blinked her eyes playfully. Chief Yizan is indeed as the rumors say. With just a single glance, I have been rendered stunned and speechless. That being said, I wonder if Chief Yizan has any thoughts of taking in a disciple. Hearing this, Yizan turned around and looked at Feng Xian seriously. You want to become my disciple? Feng Xian nodded with a smile. Feng Xian had visited almost all of the top-tier holy lands within the territory of the empire, but she had not found any satisfactory ones. The Great Wilderness Divine Sect was the last holy land that Feng Xian wanted to visit. If she failed there, she would just randomly pick one of the powerful holy lands. It seemed that fate was smiling on her though, as she had encountered Yizan. If she could become his disciple, it would naturally be for the best. Yizan felt that she was a decent disciple candidate. Although your level of talent is rather mediocre, it's still not beyond hope, Yizan said lightly. Hearing this, Feng Xian's eyes could not help but flash with joy. She suddenly thought of something and asked with a face full of curiosity. Chief Yizan, aren't you curious about my identity and background? Did this guy not care about the background and origin of his potential disciple? Was he not afraid of inviting trouble upon himself? Hearing this, Yizan looked indifferently at Feng Xian. When I take in disciples, fate is the only thing that matters. Even if the disciple I take in comes from a humble background, as long as he or she has a firm heart for cultivation, is diligent and eager to learn, and has a righteous heart, he or she is qualified to become my disciple. His reply earned Feng Xian's admiration. Many other experts attached great importance to the background and cultivation talent of their disciples. However, Yizan was different. What he valued the most was fate and his disciple's heart for cultivation. Once she thought of this, Feng Xian was even more determined to acknowledge him as her teacher. Disciple Feng Xian pays her respects to teacher. Feng Xian immediately knelt down in front of Yizan without any hesitation, afraid that the latter would go back on his words. When Exener saw this, her eyes were filled with astonishment. She was extremely clear about Feng Xian's character. Every action she took was done after careful consideration, so seeing her decide to become Yizan's disciple so quickly shocked her. Was this not a little too rushed? Xian, from today onwards, you will be this my disciple. Yizan looked calm and composed on the surface, but he was secretly laughing inwardly. Ever since the system had reawakened, he had been wanting to take in a few more disciples. After all, the more disciples he had, the faster his strength would improve. However, Yizan's criteria for accepting a disciple was the other party's heart. In his search through the East Continent, only Feng Xian's performance met his requirements. Yizan had been here the entire time the moment the red hell snake appeared, silently observing Feng Xian and Exener's performance. Fortunately, Feng Xian did not let him down. Xian, you're my second disciple in the mystic world. The one currently fighting the purgatory red snake is your senior sister. My precious disciple, stand up. We can handle the ceremonial part when we return to the Great Wilderness Divine Sect. Many thanks, teacher. When Feng Xian heard this, she stood up elegantly. Her words revealed the temperament of nobility. Congratulations, Your Highness. You've finally gotten your wish and successfully acknowledged a teacher. At this moment, Exener came forward with a smile to congratulate her. Hearing this, Yizan's eyes twitched. Princess. It seemed that the identity of this disciple of his was not simple. However, Yizan did not probe further. After all, he had just said that he did not value status when taking in disciples. At the same time, the battle between Zhu Yuyu and the Red Hell Snake was coming to an end. Although the Red Hell Snake was extremely agile, the Cloud Sky Sword in Zhu Yuyu's hand allowed her to gradually corner it with her sword chi. The Red Hell Snake had no way of escaping. After a while, Zhu Yuyu cut off the head of the Red Hell Snake and retrieved its precious bone. She walked toward Yizan with a smile on her face. Teacher, how was my performance just now? Zhu Yuyu put away the precious bone and looked at Yizan with anticipation. You've cultivated the Cloud Sky Sword technique well, but you're still lacking in terms of combat experience. You just need to practice more in the future. Yizan thought about it for a moment and then made a comment. Zhu Yuyu's eyes darkened when she heard that. She felt a little disappointed. However, at the same time, Zhu Yuyu also knew where her weakness lay. Alright, don't think too much about it. Hurry up and come over. This is my new disciple, and your junior sister. Her name is Yi Zan laughed awkwardly. My precious disciple, what's your name again? He had clearly forgotten Feng Xian's name. 394 Giving away a precious bone. PFF'd. Looking at Yi Zan's embarrassed expression, Feng Xian almost laughed. She took a deep breath and steadied herself. Junior sister Feng Xian greets senior sister. I hope that senior sister will take care of me in the future. Hearing this, Zhu Yuyu raised her brows questioningly. However, she soon felt at ease. Cloud Sky Peak was extremely spacious. Previously, it was just the two of them. Her teacher had been cultivating in seclusion and had no time to chat with her. Now that she had a junior sister, the days in the future would be a little more lively. When she thought of this, Zhu Yuyu was suddenly happy. Hee, I can't believe I have a junior sister. Hello, junior sister Feng. My name is Zhu Yuyu. If you have any questions about cultivation in the future, you can come to me anytime. Even though their characters and personalities were different, after some interaction, they soon became friends and started chatting happily. Seeing this, Yi Zan's mouth twitched. Why did he feel like he was being left aside and ignored? After a long time, the two girls who were in the middle of a conversation suddenly remembered that they had forgotten about their teacher. At that moment, the two of them stuck out their tongues playfully, their faces full of embarrassment. Feng Xian was a little nervous. She was afraid that her teacher would be angry. Just as she was about to explain, she was interrupted by Zhu Yuyu. Zhu Yuyu said indifferently, Junior sister Feng, don't worry. Teacher is especially good to his disciples and has never lost his temper. You'll understand when you get to know teacher more in the future. Teacher is the kindest person I've ever seen. He's not stingy with his disciples at all. I only became his disciple recently, but teacher gave me spiritual pills and also performed spiritual power infusion for me. He even gave me this cloud sky sword. When Feng Xian heard this, she was shocked. Wasn't this a little too good? Could there really be such a good teacher in this world? Alright, enough with the gossip for now. Let's head out first. You'll have plenty of time to chat in the future. Yi Zan looked at the night sky and said. Now that night had fallen, they could only camp outside. Teacher, please get in the carriage. Feng Xian pointed at the magnificent carriage behind her, indicating for Yi Zan to get on. Yi Zan did not hesitate and sat down directly. Feeling the soft seats and interior opulence of the carriage, Yi Zan sighed. She was a princess all right. The interior of the carriage was quite spacious. Even when Yi Zan and the other two sat together, it did not feel crowded at all. As for Exener, she was driving the carriage outside. About an hour later, Yi Zan and the others arrived at a lake. Yi Zan immediately took out the camping equipment and living necessities from his storage ring and found a suitable place to set up camp. After doing all this, Yi Zan called Feng Xian over. My precious disciple, while your senior sister is out hunting, Master will use this time to teach you how to cultivate. Yes, teacher. Feng Xian sat opposite Yi Zan. When she thought about how she would finally step onto the path of cultivation, she became overjoyed. Yi Zan did not notice the change in Feng Xian's expression as he continued to talk to himself. After some examination, your cultivation talent is rather ordinary. If you want to truly step onto the path of cultivation, you'll need my help. As soon as he finished speaking, Yi Zan flicked his sleeve, and a precious bone that was filled with the power of fire suddenly appeared. This is the precious bone of the ape beast that I obtained not long ago. It contains strong fire attribute power. In a bit, I'll help you absorb the power of the precious bone and fix your cultivation talent. What? Hearing this, Feng Xian was shocked. The precious bone in his teacher's hand was actually the precious bone of a heaven realm descendant of an ancient beast. According to the rumors, Yi Zan had put in a lot of effort to obtain this. Was he really going to let her absorb it just like that? Just now, when Zhu Yuyu said that Yi Zan was extremely good to his disciples, Feng Xian had been doubtful. However, her doubts were unfounded, and Yi Zan's generosity had exceeded her wildest expectations. Was teacher being too generous? Why would he give her this precious bone? What Feng Xian did not know was that Yi Zan had originally wanted Zhu Yuyu to absorb it. However, the precious bone's fire attribute conflicted with the profound ice divine bone in her body, which is why he had refrained. Since he just happened to run into Feng Xian today, he would finally be able to put this precious bone to good use. Teacher, are you sure you're not joking? This is the precious bone of a heaven realm ape beast, moreover one that was a descendant of an ancient beast. It's extremely valuable. Are you really going to give it to me? Feng Xian's eyes were filled with disbelief. Could this be a test Yi Zan had devised? Yi Zan shook his head and said indifferently, "It's just a precious bone. It's not as valuable as you think it is. Even if it was, as my disciple, you are qualified to enjoy these privileges. Let's get to work and start refining it." When Feng Xian heard this, she trembled uncontrollably. Her heart was filled with emotions. It seemed that she had made the right choice. "Yes, teacher." There was no need to hesitate further, so she took the precious bone. Immediately after, Feng Xian followed Yi Zan's instructions to refine it with his help. 395 Refining the precious bone. Of course, Feng Xian was only a mortal, so she had not formed her dantian, nor did her body contain any spiritual power. Thus, Yi Zan had to use his own surging spiritual power to refine it for her. A gentle current of spiritual power entered her body, and slowly guided the power of the precious bone into her body. Moments later, her body started to heat up, as the fire attribute power of the precious bone filled her body. Feng Xian's brows were tightly furrowed. Sweat was constantly dripping from her forehead, and she unconsciously took off her outer garment. After stabilizing her mind, Feng Xian continued to refine the precious bone of the ape beast. The surrounding spiritual energy began to surge crazily, forming a small spiritual energy whirlwind. With Yi Zan's help, Feng Xian also successfully formed up her dantian and sea of consciousness. The precious bone had also been refined in her dantian. It was now a brand new divine bone condensed from the ape beast's precious bone and Feng Xian's own royal bloodline. The resulting divine bone was not inferior to Zhu Yueyu's profound ice divine bone in terms of grade. After sensing the birth of the divine bone, Yi Zan smiled. At this moment, Feng Xian's expression exhibited signs of pain. After all, the process of refining the precious bone and condensing a divine bone was basically a reconstruction of her body. After a long time, the painful expression on Feng Xian's face slowly disappeared. The surrounding spiritual energy started to flow into her body, as her cultivation level rose rapidly. First level of the Mystic Meridian Realm. Second level of the Mystic Meridian Realm. Third level Mystic Meridian Realm. First level of the Divine Mystic Realm. Feng Xian's cultivation only stopped at this point. Despite this, she had still not completely refined the energy of the precious bone. Once she did, she would have further breakthroughs. This was how valuable the precious bone of a descendant of an ancient beast was, especially one that had reached the heaven realm. If she refined it completely, it was likely that she would reach the heaven realm as well. It was precisely because of this that these precious bones were treated as incomparably valuable heavenly treasures by every cultivator in the mystic world, and there was almost always a fierce battle to obtain each one that was discovered. Feng Xian slowly opened her eyes. Her eyes were filled with excitement. She felt like hugging her teacher to express her gratitude, but quickly restrained herself. That would be inappropriate and unbecoming of her. As the princess of a divine empire, her status, bearing and conduct had always been noble and befitting of her identity. She felt a little embarrassed now. Not only had she almost done something inappropriate, but she realized that while she had been refining the precious bone earlier, she had taken off her outer garment unconsciously. Thanks to the profuse amount of sweat, her clothes were all wet, revealing things that she did not want revealed. How was she going to face Yi Zan in the future? At this time, Yi Zan turned around very tactfully, while slowly suppressing the psychological and physiological sensations he was feeling. 396 Imparting knowledge. Cough cough. Yi Zan quickly coughed and then said seriously, "My precious disciple, you've already refined the ape beast's precious bone and fused it with your own bloodline to reconstruct your body. From today onward, you now possess the talent and aptitude for cultivation. However, you've just stepped onto the path of cultivation, so you're still lacking in terms of knowledge. Since we still have time until your senior sister returns, I'll teach you about the cultivation world." Hearing this, Feng Xian raised her head slightly and secretly glanced at Yi Zan. She found that the latter's expression had not changed at all, and she heaved a sigh of relief in her heart. Feng Xian quickly shook her head and suppressed the thoughts in her heart. She took a deep breath and looked at Yi Zan. "I will definitely learn and listen attentively." Yi Zan took a deep breath and said slowly, "To truly step onto the path of cultivation, one must be able to sense the spiritual energy in the surroundings, and from there, refine the meridians in the mortal body into mystic meridians. This is also the first realm of cultivation, which is known as the Mystic Meridian Realm. The realm above the Mystic Meridian Realm is known as the Divine Mystic Realm, which is the realm you have just reached. Each major cultivation realm is divided into 9 levels. It is only in this realm can one cultivate divine powers. Above the divine mystic realm is the materialization realm. Once a cultivator reaches the materialization realm, he or she will have extremely fine control of their own power, and can detect any changes in their surroundings from dozens of miles away. Feng Xian was listening attentively. Although she was the princess of the divine empire, in the eyes of the public, she was just a tool used to form a marriage alliance for the divine empire. As such, even though she was a princess, she was lacking in terms of such knowledge. The realm above the materialization realm is known as the void realm, wherein one can ignore the laws of space to some extent and teleport. Once one breaks through to this realm, it means that one has mastered a certain amount of the power of the laws. Of course, as for what the power of the laws is, it's a little too early to tell you about that now. You'll understand it in the future. The realm above the void realm is called the heaven realm, which is a little different. There are only 5 levels in the heaven realm, which correspond to the 5 spiritual seas in a cultivator's heart, liver, lung, kidney, and spleen. Once a cultivator enters the heaven realm, they can perfectly hide their aura and appear like a mortal. This is the realm I have reached. As soon as he finished speaking, Feng Xian revealed an intoxicated expression. She did not expect the path of cultivation to be so interesting, or her teacher to be so strong. Teacher, what about the realm above the heaven realm? She asked curiously. Yi Zan took a deep breath and slowly said, those who have surpassed the heaven realm are called mystic lord cultivators. Some also call them overlords. Once a cultivator reaches this level, they are basically qualified to be the masters of their own holy land. Our great wilderness divine church currently has 2 mystic lord realm experts. One of them is the sect master, Gongsun Shoyu. The other is the chief of Hidden Sword Peak, and also the law enforcement elder of the sect, Gao Shun. Once one's cultivation level reaches such a level, a casual attack can contain and evolve into thousands of Daos, using the profound power of the laws of the world. Wow, mystic lord realm cultivators are so powerful. She then asked again, is there an even higher cultivation realm? Naturally, Yi Zan nodded, and his expression gradually became serious. Above the mystic lord realm is the supreme realm. Supreme realm experts are considered top-notch experts in the mystic world, but they are not the pinnacle of cultivation in the mystic world. Above the supreme realm there is the ancient realm, as well as the legendary sealed immortal realm. However, although the human race is powerful, we haven't given birth to a sealed immortal realm expert in the past 10,000 years. For a cultivator to reach this level, it is as difficult as ascending to heaven. Therefore, you must remember, the path of cultivation is fraught with countless hardships. If you want to get stronger, you have to endure and overcome them, no matter how great the difficulty might be. Cultivation itself is a fight against the heavens. If your heart is not stable and focused, one wrong step will lead you into a bottomless abyss. Are you clear? Yi Zan took a deep look at Feng Xian and then said with a serious expression. Feng Xian took a deep breath and said with a determined look in her eyes, I will etch teacher's words into my heart. As a member of the royal family, she had understood and experienced the schemes and plots of the royal family, which is why she yearned for the cultivation world. 397 True Dragon Precious Bone. In the cultivation world, as long as one was strong enough, one could have absolute freedom. Feng Xian wanted to control her own fate and free herself from the confines of the royal family. That's good. Hearing this, Yi Zan displayed a satisfied look. What I just said is common knowledge in the cultivation world. Take your time and digest the information. Don't bite off more than you can chew. Yi Zan looked up at the night sky. The moon was already high up in the sky, and its dazzling silver light illuminated the surroundings. Zhu Guoyu and Exener had yet to return. Yi Zan pondered as to whether he should start imparting cultivation techniques to Feng Xian right now. However, after some thought, Yi Zan gave up on the idea. Feng Xian had just condensed a divine bone and her cultivation foundation was not stable yet. He could not proceed too hastily. As such, he said, the divine bone in your body was condensed from the fusion of the ape beast's precious bone and your own bloodline. From today onward, you will slowly refine the power within the precious bone according to the method I taught you. As for divine powers, that will have to wait until your cultivation foundation has been stabilized. All right, teacher. Feng Xian nodded seriously. She could naturally sense the power contained within the precious bone, and guessed that her cultivation would soar once she absorbed this power. When she thought of this, Feng Xian felt excited. She had been so lucky to find such a good teacher who was willing to give her such valuable resources and heavenly treasures. This precious bone was something that even her father would treasure. Meeting Yi Zan was truly a blessing. Fortunately, she had not joined another holy land before this, or she would have missed out on this opportunity. Alright, it just so happens that your senior sister hasn't returned yet, so you should first consolidate your cultivation foundation according to the method I taught you. Feng Xian nodded obediently as she calmed her heart down and quickly entered a state of meditation. Soon after, Feng Xian slowly circulated her spiritual power according to the method Yizan had taught her. While consolidating her cultivation foundation, she also slowly absorbed the power within the precious bone. Seeing her cultivate seriously, Yizan nodded in approval. At this moment, a system notification rang out. Ding! As the host has given his disciple the precious bone of a heaven realm descendant of an ancient beast, the host has received a randomized 10,000x critical reward. Congratulations! The host has obtained the precious bone of the true dragon, one of the top 10 ancient beasts, incomplete. What? The precious bone of a true dragon? FCK, I've struck it rich. Yizan almost jumped up in excitement. Of course, he also noticed the addendum added to the end of the system notification. Although it was the precious bone of the true dragon, it was only broken and incomplete. Even so, this precious bone still contained the power and bloodline of a true dragon. It could be called a rare heavenly treasure. Back on the Tianyuan continent, the true dragon race had only left behind a tiny bit of their bloodline, yet those mixed blood dragons easily dominated the endless sea. They were formidable enemies of the human race's great emperor realm experts. This girl is really a lucky star. A 10,000x multiplier. Yizan could not contain his smile. Yizan immediately took out the precious bone of the true dragon from the system's storage space. An ancient aura suddenly swept out, and it seemed like a true dragon was roaring. The precious bone of the true dragon in Yizan's hand was golden, and there were mysterious dragon patterns engraved on the bone that flowed along it like veins. In order to avoid any incidents, Yizan hurriedly flicked his sleeves and isolated its aura from the surroundings. Then he immediately started to absorb the power of the true dragon's precious bone. Yizan's spiritual power swept out and wrapped itself around the precious bone, slowly refining and absorbing the power of the true dragon within. As time passed, Yizan's body was gradually covered in a layer of mysterious golden dragon patterns, which made him look somewhat holy. Yizan frowned and groaned, his face was contorted in pain. The infusion of the true dragon's power tempered Yizan's meridians and bones with lightning, transforming them. The true dragon's power was too overbearing. Were it not for the chaos heart technique and the golden lotus of the great Tao, Yizan's meridians might have been destroyed. As Yizan continued to absorb the power of the runes within the precious bone, his entire body gradually swelled up as if he was about to explode from the power. Sensing this, Yizan's expression changed drastically. He hurriedly circulated the chaos heart technique and guided this overbearing true dragon power into the 5 spirit seas in his body. In an instant, Yizan experienced a great breakthrough, from the first level of the heaven realm to the peak of the 5th level of the heaven realm. He was one step away from reaching the mystic lord realm. The aura in his body continued to tremble, and his heart was beating so fast that it felt like even the mountains and rivers were shaking. 398 Early Stage Mystic Lord Realm Cultivator. The golden patterns on the surface of his skin glowed brighter and brighter, and soon covered his entire body. It even seemed like a true dragon was roaring. True dragon body. Yizan was shocked. He had not expected that refining and absorbing the power of the true dragon's precious bone would actually result in him obtaining the true dragon body. The golden light also started to refine his spiritual power, making it purer. His face was full of excitement. Every cell and every pore in his body seemed to contain immense power, and his bones and muscles were faintly flowing with golden divine light. Yizan had never felt so powerful before. Now, even his physical strength would have been enough to end the lives of those 2 Sha family heaven realm cultivators from back then. However, this was not the end. The mysterious power of the true dragon's precious bone slowly merged into Yizan's 5 spirit seas. The golden lotus of the great Tao hidden deep within his body also shone with brilliant divine light, as if guiding this power to form a Tao fruit in the spirit seas. Yizan had now reached the peak of the heaven realm, and was on the verge of reaching the mystic lord realm. As long as a Tao fruit was formed in one's spirit seas, one would be able to advance to the mystic lord realm. At this moment, Zhu Guoyu and Exener finally returned. The 2 women had successfully hunted a giant wolf, and were about to start roasting it. Then, they noticed a Tao flower condensing above Yizan's head. The spiritual energy in the surroundings suddenly started swirling toward Yizan, forming a whirlwind that made it impossible for others to approach. Zhu Yuyu and Exoner's expressions changed when they saw this. Teacher, what's going on? Zhu Yuyu looked at Yizan, who was in the center of the whirlwind, with a worried expression. Right at this moment, Feng Xian, who had been cultivating, was also jolted awake by the commotion. She looked in Yizan's direction with a shocked expression. Could it be the teacher is about to break through? Junior sister, what happened to teacher? Seeing this, Zhu Yuyu hurriedly helped Feng Xian up and asked nervously. Although Feng Xian was very shocked, she quickly calmed down. If I'm not wrong, teacher seems to be breaking through to the next realm. He described this phenomenon to me earlier. Breaking through. When Zhu Yuyu heard this, she was stunned. Teacher is already a heaven realm expert. If he's breaking through now, won't that make him a mystic lord realm cultivator? This is unbelievable. Teacher is so young. How did he break through to the mystic lord realm so quickly? Zhu Yuyu's eyes were filled with disbelief. The two mystic lord realm cultivators in the Great Wilderness Divine Sect were old men who were hundreds of years older than Yizan. Furthermore, the other chiefs, who were also considerably older than Yizan, had yet to break through to the mystic lord realm. On the other hand, Feng Xian was smiling happily. Senior sister, from today onward, we will have the backing of a mystic lord realm expert. When we return to the Great Wilderness Divine Sect, no one will dare to look down on us. Hearing this, Zhu Yuyu also smiled and nodded. She knew in her heart that Yizan was extremely protective of his disciple, and would not allow them to be bullied. Earlier, Zhu Yuyu had been worried that Yizan would become the target of the Xia family's revenge. After all, he had severely injured two of their heaven realm experts and embarrassed Charlotte. However, now that Yizan was breaking through, such worries were gone with the wind. There was no longer a need to fear the Xia family. Even the king of a divine empire had to treat a mystic lord realm cultivator with respect. This thought especially excited Feng Xian. Even if her father found out that she was in the Great Wilderness Divine Sect, it was likely that he would restrain his actions. That's great. I'm one step closer to escaping my fate. Hopefully, she would be able to cultivate under Yizan's tutelage in peace and do what she liked. After a long time, the center of the surging spiritual energy slowly calmed down. The Dao flower above Yizan's head bloomed brightly and then condensed into a Dao fruit filled with mysterious power. However, this was only on the surface. In reality, two spirit seeds in Yizan's body had each formed a Dao fruit. In addition, there was a mysterious flower on top of each Dao fruit. Seeing this, Yizan narrowed his eyes. Because Yizan had the golden lotus of the great Dao in his body, and had refined the precious bone of the true dragon, the path of cultivation he walked was an invincible path that was one in a million. After sensing the changes in his body, Yizan was brimming with excitement. Perhaps he could really end the human race's 10,000-year drought and become a legendary sealed immortal realm cultivator. He had the system, so it was only appropriate for him to aim for the stars. In any case, that was a story for the future. After successfully refining the power of the precious bone of the true dragon, Yizan had successfully reached the Mystic Lord realm. Once a cultivator stepped into the Mystic Lord realm, their cultivation would be divided into 3 minor realms. At present, Yizan was an early-stage Mystic Lord realm cultivator. However, because he had broken through too quickly, his cultivation foundation had not been completely stabilized. 399 is your goal, just that. Now that he had just broken through, the most important thing was to consolidate his cultivation foundation. After Yizan calmed himself down, he slowly opened his eyes. 3 beautiful women suddenly appeared in his field of vision. All 3 were staring at him. Then after Yizan retracted the golden dragon patterns on his body, the powerful spiritual pressure in the surroundings also dissipated. When Zhu Yuyu, Feng Xian, and Exoner saw this, they heaved a sigh of relief. The strongest among them had only reached the divine mystic realm, so even if Yizan's spiritual pressure was not deliberately directed at them, they still felt very uncomfortable. Now that this terrifying spiritual pressure had disappeared, they plopped to the ground. However, they quickly got up and ran over to Yizan to congratulate him. Congratulations on breaking through to the Mystic Lord realm, Feng Xian said. Congratulations on breaking through, teacher, Zhu Yuyu chimed in. When Exoner saw this, she felt slightly envious that she was not his disciple, but she congratulated him anyway. Hearing this, Yizan smiled. It's just a minor achievement, so there's no need to make a big fuss over it. As long as you all work hard in your cultivation, you'll reach the Mystic Lord realm sooner or later as well. When Zhu Yuyu and Feng Xian heard this, they were overjoyed. Going by his words, did it mean he believed that they too would reach the mystic lord realm? This was the lifelong goal of countless cultivators. Let alone the mystic lord realm, countless cultivators might not even be able to break through to the void realm despite cultivating their entire lives. Immediately, Feng Xian asked with a smile, "Teacher, does that mean that we also have the hope of breaking through to the mystic lord realm?" "It's just the mystic lord realm. As my disciples, how can your goal be limited to just this? As long as all of you work hard in your cultivation, and train diligently according to the cultivation techniques that I impart to you, it's not impossible for you to reach the supreme realm." Both of them were overjoyed by this response. "We will definitely follow teacher's instructions and cultivate diligently. We will strive to reach the mystic lord realm as soon as possible." Of course, Feng Xian did not think that she would be able to break through to the supreme realm. The mystic lord realm was already her biggest goal. Then, Zhuge Yuyu chimed in, "Teacher, and I hunted a giant wolf in the vicinity just now. Would you like to steam it or roast it?" Hearing this, Yi Zan turned to look around him. Just now, because he had broken through, the spiritual energy within the surroundings had gathered around him, creating a whirlwind that had wreaked havoc upon the environment. Everywhere he looked, it was a mess. Yi Zan's mouth twitched when he saw this. If this had happened on Earth in his previous life, this would have been classified as a criminal act of destroying nature, and he would have been fined. "Let's roast it. It's already quite late, so we should have our meal quickly. You can rest early after filling your stomachs. Tomorrow, we will continue to explore the surrounding territory." "Yes, teacher." Zhuge Yuyu nodded. "Senior sister, I'll help you," Feng Xian proposed. However, Zhuge Yuyu rejected her. "I can handle such matters myself. As a princess who has lived in the palace your entire life, cooking likely isn't your strong suit. In any case, you've just become teacher's disciple, so I'm sure that you still have many questions regarding cultivation. You can take this time to consult him." Feng Xian did not retort. What Yuyu said was indeed true. As a princess, she naturally had her meals prepared for her in the palace and did not know how to cook. However, Feng Xian still felt a little embarrassed to be alone with Yi Zan. Otherwise, she would not have offered to help Zhuge Yuyu. When she recalled the earlier incident, she could not help but blush. Still, she had to deal with it sooner or later. After all, he was going to be her teacher for life. As such, she walked over to Yi Zan. Thankfully, upon meeting his gaze, she realized that he was completely calm and expressionless. Perhaps it was not such a big deal after all. 400 coming clean. "My precious disciple, what's the matter with you?" Seeing the change in Feng Xian's expression, Yi Zan asked. "It's nothing. I'm fine." When Feng Xian heard this, she lowered her head as she could not help but recall the fate she had barely escaped. Her expression instantly turned slightly sullen. In the eyes of outsiders, she was the princess of the Divine Empire, which was a status that everyone wished to have. However, in reality, she was just a tool to create a marriage alliance between the Divine Empires. In addition, her mother had passed away early, her father was busy with political affairs, and her brothers only knew how to scheme against each other. No one treated her sincerely. Before she acknowledged Yi Zan as her master, her only true friend was Exener. "Little girl, do you have something on your mind?" Yi Zan could not help but ask. There was a sense of worry on his disciple's face. Could it be that something had happened in the palace? Feng Xian noticed Yi Zan's concerned gaze and felt touched. "Teacher, actually, I have a secret that I've been hiding from you. I was worried that once I reveal this secret, I wouldn't be able to become your disciple. However, these past few days, I've seen teacher's good intentions. Not only did you teach me cultivation techniques, you even gave me the precious bone of a descendant of an ancient beast without any hesitation. I am very ashamed. I should not have kept this secret from you, teacher. I should not have involved you in the power struggle of the Divine Empire without your knowledge. Teacher, I'm sorry. This is all my fault." As she spoke, Feng Xian started sobbing. Her expression was filled with guilt. Seeing this, Yi Zan smiled faintly. When he learned of Feng Xian's identity as a princess, he had already guessed that there was an ulterior motive behind her wanting to become his disciple. However, it was just a power struggle in the royal family. He was not concerned about it at all. Of course, Yi Zan did not want to force Feng Xian. If this girl wanted to say it, she would naturally say it. Feng Xian looked at Yi Zan's calm expression and became even more puzzled. "Teacher, are you not angry?" She had concealed a secret for him and had become his disciple for her own selfish reasons, so why did he seem unaffected? Why should I be angry? Yi Zan asked with a smile, and then said with a gentle look. This is your personal matter. I've already said that I don't care about my disciple's identity or talent. As for the secrets you've been hiding, you can tell me about them when you're comfortable doing so. Besides, as my disciple, even if you're publicly criticized, I'll stand behind you. Even if the sky falls, I will still be there to shelter you. Hearing Yi Zan's calm and confident words, Feng Xian was shocked and touched at the same time. Who would not love such an excellent and perfect teacher? He gave her a sense of great security. Teacher, don't worry. I won't hide any secrets from you in the future, Feng Xian said with a determined look. Silly girl, you didn't do anything wrong, so you don't need to blame yourself, Yi Zan said with a smile. Teacher, my true identity is the princess of the Yangli Divine Empire. Because my mother passed away early, I had no one to rely on in the palace, and I was fated to become a tool to forge a marriage alliance between two divine empires. Before I escaped from the palace, my father had already arranged for me to marry the prince of the Haihan Divine Empire. However, I didn't want to give in to my fate and marry someone I don't know at all. As such, I brought Exener and sneaked out. I will forever remember teacher's kindness to me. However, by now, people from the royal palace should have already noticed that I'm missing and should be searching for me now. If they find us, I will not implicate you, teacher. Feng Xian's face was distraught. She did not want to go back, she did not want to become a puppet of fate, and she did not want to be separated from her teacher. Despite having met him only briefly, she had been given so much. Seeing this, Yi Zan gently wiped the tears from the corner of Feng Xian's eyes and said in a gentle tone, Silly girl, don't worry. With me around, who would dare to take you away? Hearing this, Feng Xian suddenly raised her head. Seeing Yi Zan's determined expression, she revealed a hopeful smile. I'll believe in teacher then. With teacher by my side, no one will be able to bully me. Teacher, don't worry. I'll definitely work hard in my cultivation in the future and won't let you down. Cultivation in the future and won't let you down.